Welcome to Seeing with Your Soul, a safe and sacred place to be vulnerable, to be transparent, to be authentic. I am your host, Tisha Michelle. From the deep pain and loss of my best friend Gloria, I realized she gave me the greatest gift ever, remembering my purpose in life, which is to help connect you to your authentic self, guide you to remember your purpose, and remind you that your current circumstance doesn't define who you are. Join me as we heal, align, and glow together. Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Seeing with Your Soul with me, your host, Tisha Michelle. What's up? How are you guys doing? How are you feeling? Are you feeling the shift? And if you're like, I don't know if I'm feeling the shift, but I am feeling something. Yeah, you're feeling the shift. I mean, we are getting ready to go into the age of Aquarius. Also, it's winter solstice. So actually, by the time that you guys listen to this, winter solstice is December 21st, and that is also the beginning of the age in Aquarius. So just definitely expect a lot of powerful energy. Expect things to be like clipped out of your life that are no longer serving you. Expect to be thinking and dreaming and moving big, just expanding, just growth, the aha moments of like, yo, I want to do that shit and I'm going to do that shit. And I don't care what, people say or what, looking at those systems and like, oh, it has to be this, and this. And it's like, no, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. Right. So just really embrace the energy that you guys are feeling. Don't be afraid to take a time out. If you feel like it's just too much and it's so much is coming at you, rest, give yourself that grace and just allow yourself to really just be in that space of rest. So around here, I love to start off with gratitude. So in this present moment, I would say that I am very, very grateful for self-awareness. I guess if I had to pick like a theme for me for 2020, I would say like the words would be self-awareness. Like just being able to be so aware when you're being triggered or you're uncomfortable or something doesn't feel right. And instead of using that defense mechanism of where you get defensive or you just brush it aside and just be like, nope, I don't want to feel like that. Nope, I don't want to think about it. But you then become aware of, oh, I'm really starting to feel very uncomfortable right now. Well, why is this? Is there something for me to learn here? Is this making me feel, have I ever felt this feeling before? So for me, I'm very grateful for this level of awareness because I've had a couple of situations and mainly one that some people will be like, oh man, this person tried me. Well, where I felt attacked, that I just quickly like took some deep breaths and I said, whoa, wait a minute. This person can't make me feel any type of way because they're my fucking feelings, right? They're my feelings and you can't make me feel, particular way. They're mine. But there was something that made me feel like I was attacked or made me feel the certain ways that I was feeling. However, having this level of self-awareness, I recognized how I was feeling. And instead of getting defensive and pushing back towards this person, I just went within. And I was like, okay, all right, here we go. Okay, what feeling is drumming up for me right now? Have I felt this feeling before? And when I felt this feeling before, what was it that I did to be able to overcome it? Or did I try to bury it or whatever the case may be? So like, I'm so grateful for just this level of self-awareness because it's really allowing me to truly grow and to learn more about myself and to not have that same, feeling and reaction come up again in a sense, because I'm actually learning from it. And I'm like, oh, so when this person said this, it made me feel this way. Okay, so they didn't make me feel that way. There's a part of me that's not healed that thinks that about myself. And then they just triggered and activated that part. And I was like, oh, whoa. Okay, well, why do I feel like this about myself? Oh, okay. And then you can kind of start to go a little bit backwards to see where that feeling, is actually coming from. So for me, hands down, it is self-awareness is definitely what I'm grateful for right now, because it's just showing my evolution and showing my growth. So guess what? It's your turn. Unless you are driving, I want you to go ahead and close your eyes, and we're just going to take a couple of nice deep breaths. And you're just going to take a nice deep breath, breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. Roll the neck, shrug the shoulders a little bit, shake some of that energy through, and just go ahead and take another nice deep breath just by breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. All right, one more nice long deep breath, breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. Yes, doesn't that just feel good? Don't you feel light? Don't you just feel amazing? All right, so in this present moment, what are you guys grateful for? Like, what's up? Like, you could say it out loud, say it in your head. You may put this on pause for a little bit. You might feel like just journaling and you just want to write it. You want to scream it out, whatever. However, it doesn't even matter. It's just super important that you express what you're grateful for. Scan your life. Scan the last 24 hours. Shit, scan the last 30 minutes. What happened there? Like, what are you grateful for, right? Put that energy out, right? So I'm back from Florida. It was amazing. It was 2 parts to it. I love it. But I'm going to pause real quick. And I want to ask you guys, are you guys on Clubhouse? Hello. If not, if you are an iPhone user right now, go ahead and download the app and just get on there. You do need an invite to get on there. However, if you create and, get on the waiting list, it's going to pop up for someone that you're connected with that already has an account, and it'll say, do you want to let that person in? However, if you haven't heard about it, Clubhouse is a new social network. I think it's dope. I think the concept of it is just so dope, right? So you get on there, you create your username and all that good stuff, just like you do with anywhere else, but it's all audio. So the only picture is just a picture that you put for your profile, and then you can put whatever you want in your bio. You get to create rooms. If you want to create a breakout room and talk about something, you could do that. So if I want to create a group that says, seeing with your soul, and I put whatever the description is like on there, and you see it on the calendar, you get a notification if somebody else is in there as a speaker, you can hop in that room and you can join in on the conversation. Or if there's something that you want to learn and there's some value that you're trying to get from other people, you're then able to look on there and you'd be like, oh, okay, how to wholesale. Bet I've been wanting to get into wholesaling. And then you hop in there and you listen to the people that are dropping value, dropping the gems, learning so much. Then you can follow them on there, and then you can follow them on Instagram or Twitter or whatever. I think it's such a dope concept, right? So I hopped in one of the rooms that was talking about for creatives, right? And they was like, welcome to Clubhouse, everything you need to know. So I was on there for probably about like a good hour and a half, just listening to people asking the questions. Well, the whole concept behind this is that they wanted to take away from the whole algorithm of social media and how people feel, and people like, oh, the, Instagram influencer and this and that or whatever. Well, there's nobody is a Clubhouse influencer. No one is an expert. First of all, it's a new app, right? So this is what they were saying. And they said that, how on your social media, they're like, oh, you want to follow less people and have more people following you because it's, oh my God, your value is determined by your fucking followers, right? They're like, no, actually the way the app works best is the more people you follow, right? So the more people you follow, the more rooms show up in your feed. So they're like, if you only follow 30 people on there, you're actually selling yourself short and not using the app the way that it was created, because at that point, you're not getting that many rooms that are showing up. So you're missing out on this value. And, and I was like, okay, that makes sense. And I hosted my first one. And I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to do an Oracle card pull. So I scheduled it and I did it for Friday that just passed, at 7 p.m. And I don't know how many people that I pulled cards for. It was a lot, but I do know that I got like 25 people followed me on the app so they can be notified whenever I do more pick a cards and stuff. And it was so cool. But not only that, people then went to Instagram and they followed me on Instagram and then they were sending me messages. So what they were talking about, I'm going to go back to the Welcome Clubhouse 101 people or whatever. And they were saying that it was all around the big part of the concept was you never know who you're going to get connected to. Right. So this is why they say it's so important. You don't know who's in the room. You don't know what their story is. You don't know how you can help them, how they can help you. And it's really the whole serendipity where it's just like, oh my God, that's so crazy. Like somebody told me about Clubhouse 2 weeks ago. And I was like, no, I don't want to get on that. And then something just told me to get on. And here I am in this room and I just connected with this amazing, beautiful soul. And it's like, it's like the universe was just placing us to each other. Like, just divine timing and just purposefully. So I thought that was cool, that's also a concept behind creating Clubhouse, right? And no, I'm not like selling it in any sense. I just think it's an amazing way to really just connect with people and allow the universe to connect you to people at the right timing. So I hosted my first one. And I pulled cards. Like, again, I don't know how many people was hopping in and out, how many I pulled for, but I know at the bare bone minimum, it was 25 because that's how many people ended up following me on that, that site. It was a vibe, yo. And then the people were sending me messages on Instagram and was like, thank you so much for pulling my card. You have no idea. Like, I needed that in my life and it came at the perfect time. And even in the group, when I was pulling cards, people were like, wow, I was just thinking about this. Wow, like that is so crazy. And I love that. And not from an ego place, it's from this place of me serving my purpose and understanding, like, even for me, even though I was feeling a little uncomfortable about, having, doing this carpool with these people I don't know, you know what I mean? Like just random people coming in there. You never know if you're going to have trolls or any of that source. But I said, you know what? I'm meant to do this. And to know that it's like the perfect timing and there was a couple people in there who said it. They was like, this is my first time having a card pull. That was an experience for them, but it was all perfect. So to have the intention behind the creation of Clubhouse, to hold the whole serendipity where it's like, you never know who you're going to connect with and when you're going to connect, and just know that it's all perfect and divine timing. I see that it showed that just with my room in there. So I thought that was amazing. So if you guys are, if, like I said, for right now, it's for iPhone users and it's not, so they were talked about that it's not to be bougie or exclusive. It's just that they're in beta testing and they said it's easier to launch an app on iOS. So they started with iOS, but it will be, as they continue building and stuff, it will be on for Android people as well. So what I wanted to talk to you guys about today was perfect, that even though in my mind I had this idea I wanted to share this story with you. And then what just happened at the time that I'm recording this right now, yesterday of the whole Clubhouse experience, I was like, oh my gosh, it's perfect for what I want to talk about. So what I want to talk about was how God, universe, your spirit guides, your ancestors, your guardian angels, your higher self, whatever you relate to as your higher power, will connect you with people at I don't want to say the right time, but at such a purposeful time. So remember when I was like, I'm back from Florida, right? So if you listen to last week's episode, I was talking about the VIP day and having the brunch with the ladies. Well, my second part was I flew from Tampa to Miami to be with Christina. And Christina was one of my clients, and I was clients / friends, like love her dearly. And she's definitely been a really, really big blessing of 2020. So she ended up, connecting with me and we had a session and then we went a little further. Well, this wonderful soul spoke about me on stages of hundreds of people. And I didn't even know it. One day, my Instagram was blowing up with all these followers. I was like, bruh, I just got spammed. I know it. But I was looking, I was like, yo, everybody, when people follow me, I do go and look at everybody's page and I look to see, what they're about. And connect with like the energy and see if I want to follow them back. And when I say follow them back in a sense of like, I'm better than, no, I want to see what is it that you are putting out there. And that's going to be in my feed, because I'm all about energy and what it is that I'm welcoming into my life. So I always look, when I was like, well, the one thing that they all have in common is they're all in real estate, right? So I'm like, maybe I wasn't spam. But then a couple of them hit me up, and then they were like, hey, like I'm at this conference, and Christina at the time of this, her last name was Spells, Christina Spells, like she talked about you, and I need to get a session. I need to know what you offer. And I was like, okay, all right. So I didn't get spammed. Like, she was speaking about me, and she sent so many people to me that trust her, and she's dope in the real estate game. Like, but she's also very, very powerful in her own way and her own gifts. So I flew so she said she was going to be in Miami. Again, the timing, she just happened to post on Instagram a picture on her story, and she said, oh, I'm going to go see my family in Miami. And I was like, bruh, when you going to be in Miami? And she was like, December 11th through whatever. I was like, bruh, I'm going to be in Tampa on the 11th. And she's like, oh my God. So then she hit me back, and she said, would you be willing to fly from Tampa to Miami and then come hang out with her? So I was like, bet, right? So, I did that, and I hung out with her for 3 days, and it was amazing. And we had such a good, so again, the timing, right? So it's like, I never met her in real life, in person, right? And this is someone who, from her words, that I've helped change her life and all this amazing stuff. But also she's been a blessing, to me, because not only did she trust in me, but she trusted her people, with me. And she spoke about me, like I said, from stages. So the fact that we were going to be in the same state is crazy, because we were supposed to have met in May when she was coming to my retreat. But because of COVID, that changed. So it was like, dang, like we didn't get to meet each other in real life, right? So, so right there was like, okay, what's the chances of, in that sense? Okay, great. So now we're in Miami and we're hanging, and it's great. So we're on the beach, and we're sitting on the beach, and we're just doing our thing. And I was telling her that when my oldest son when he gets of age, I'm going to move to an island somewhere. And I said, because I'm all about just choosing peace and having less chaos in my life. So once he's 10 now. So once he's of age, I'm out. If he want to go with me, that's cool. But I don't have to worry about that, instance of it. So I said, yeah, I'm just going to be on the beach, just living there, and just like, I'll even host a retreat there. And just be by the water. And I kept saying, and I was joking as I was on the beach. I'm like, where's the guy that's going to come with the juice? Like, I need my juice. Like, I need my drink, right? And I kept saying that throughout. So then she asked me, she said, oh, are you hungry? I'm like, I can eat. I was like, but I'm really just thirsty. I want a juice. And then she goes, yeah, I want like a juice, like a smoothie or something fresh. And I was like, oh, I can definitely take one of them. So we've been talking about juice a little, like it just kind of I'm doing air quotes over here, guys, where I'm talking about, like a juice. So where's the juice guy? I want to be on an island where they're serving me this fresh fruit and this fresh juice, right? So that was the first introduction to the juice that was just in my mind, and I put it out there. And then she asked me about the eating, and I said, I want a juice. And she was like, yeah, I want a juice. Okay. So we leave. She looks up on her phone, and we start walking back, and we get to the place. There's this place for the juice. So she's like, oh, here it is. So we walk in. And then we sit down, and we're just looking at the menu, and it's just one guy that's in there that works there. And now we know what his name is. His name is Oscar. And Oscar's like, oh, like, what are you guys having? So, Christina tells him first. And as he's making it, he just looks over at us, and we're just looking, whatever. And he says, do you guys believe in religion? And then Christina just looked at me like, what? But in my mind, I literally I kind of took a little deep breath, because I knew where this was going. And I'll explain a little bit of that later. And so I didn't say anything. And I said, so Christina was like, I'm spiritual. And he was like, yeah, I'm starting to notice that. And so I'm quiet. So he says a couple of things to her about the church, and that he left the church. And it's been about a year, and he just decided to leave the church. So then he just looks at me like he was waiting for me to say something. And I didn't say anything, because, again, I know where this is going. So I'm just looking at him and he was like, hello. He was like, you just like looking at me. He's so cute. He's like, you're just looking at me. And I was like, no, because I want you to speak. Right. I knew in that moment he needed to be heard. He needed to speak. There was nothing for me to say right now. Nothing for me to say. So for him, on the other end, he could have been a little nervous and like you're trying to spark up a conversation and then this person is just looking at you, right? So of course I can make a person feel a little uncomfortable. But I was like, no, I was just waiting for you to talk, right? So he proceeds to tell us this story, and he says that he was in the church and they talk about you going to hell, and he said that. And I'm already feeling the energy from him. So again, I know where this is going. And he says that, I just was like reaching out to God and I just wanted God to just change me. And then he looked and he was like, I'm gay. And he said, and like, I don't know what's wrong with me. And I was like, nothing is wrong with you. And he was like, and I pray every day to God, why don't you change me? Why don't you change me? Like, I don't want to be like this. I don't understand these feelings. And he was like, and then I met a man. And he said, and I fell in love. He said, no one's ever touched me like the way that he's touched me. Like no one's ever, like I wish you guys could see me because he was so animated in a beautiful way of the way he was expressing it. And he was like, and just the way he would just touch me and how he made me feel. And I just fell in love. He was like, but he was married and married to a woman. He was like, he was married. He said, and he just found this way to like, just like, he couldn't get the word. And me and Christina was like, manipulate you. And he said, yes. And he said, and I don't want to feel like something is just wrong with me. And he said, then I have this friend and she told me that she was a lesbian and that she prayed to God and God changed her. He was like, but why didn't God change me? This God. And then he said, because God doesn't love me. And like the whole time, like I'm a real G, so I'm trying not to cry, right? And Christina is like all like teary and stuff. And it was so emotional. And we just started just pouring into him. And so we just started pouring into him and we just started talking, right? So then Christina had said to me, and she was like, bro, that's crazy. I was like, yeah. I said, as soon as he asked that question about, do you believe in like religion? I already knew that, God, my spirit guides, whatever, higher power, led me to go into there. Because this happens a lot often with me. And so Christina said, if you don't mind me asking, she was like, what made you feel comfortable to talk to us about that? He said, I don't know. He said, I looked over and I seen you guys coming in and I knew that I was to speak and that I was going to get healing. He said it was like, and again, I wish you could see me. He was like, it was like the door was opening and opening and opening. And I was just supposed to speak and I was just going to get this healing and I was just going to receive something. So I just opened my mouth and spoke. So then Christina said, that's crazy. And then she was like, pointed to me and she said, she's my healer. She's who I go to with this in my life. And then I looked at him and I was like, yeah, I was like, I kind of do this for a living. He was like, oh my God. I said, so that God that you said doesn't love you and is not listening to you and is not hearing you. I said, that's how I ended up here. I said, you put out a signal, that you wanted some guidance and you needed some assistance and you needed some help. And here we came along. I said, so that's the God and that God loves you. And I was telling him, I said, you are meant to be who you are. There's nothing wrong with you. And he was saying that he was questioning, like, when he would be around women, it was like cool to be friends. But then if they would touch him, it was like, no. He was like, but it was just something about seeing a man. And he hadn't even been with anybody. It was just, he said, the way that his heart would just change and just like his stomach, he would get butterflies in there. And I said, because we're all energy and we're all connected. I said, so when we talk about the feminine and we talk about the masculine, it's energy. It's not gender based, in there. I said, so again, nothing is wrong with you, right? So, we're just pouring into him in that sense. And it was so beautiful because he looks at me and he says, oh no. So before that, he was like, He was like, but I'm 59. And I said, what does that mean? Age is nothing but a number. We just needed some type of structure, some type of guideline. Like, oh, you're 1, you're 2, you're 3. Oh, if you're 18, you could do this. If you're 21, you could do that. I'm like, it's just a number. It doesn't matter when you get to that point in your life. But this man was 59 years old, and he had been living in hiding and not accepting who he was. And he said in church, they told him that he was going to go to hell. And he was like, I don't want to go to hell. I don't want to go to hell. So he was trying to fight who he was, because in this organized religion for him, they told him he was going to go to hell if he didn't change. And because he was, feeling this way towards like men. So he stayed trapped. He stayed trapped in a lie. He stayed trapped in fear. He didn't allow himself to love. He didn't even think that he could be loved, any in that sense. So he goes, after he talked about being 59 and we poured into him, he said, I am gay. I am gay. And he said it. He said, you know what? Gay means happy. And that's what I want to be. I just want to be happy. And I was like, then you be fucking happy. Whatever that is, you be happy. If that's what you want and that's what you desire, be happy. So we're drinking, I drink. And by the way, that shit was amazing. And he looked at me and he said, thank you for allowing me to be myself. He said, I've never felt like this before. And he was like, thank you, thank you, thank you. And in that moment, I was reminded of my true purpose. We have a lot of different purposes. I used to say this in the beginning. They're like, oh, what do you do? And I'm like, I give people permission to be themselves. I don't know what to tell you. Right? And in that moment, he reminded me of my purpose. And if that's creating that safe and sacred space and allowing people to be themselves and to feel, safe and to feel like they're not going to be judged, right? So the universe will place you and place people in your life in the most craziest ways, but it's always so perfect. So we fast forward back to the beach. So you might be like, okay, you were very detailed about what you were doing on the beach, because that was all a part of it. From me telling her the story of how I want to live on an island. And then I was like, where's the juice man at? Where's the juice man? Right. And then for her to say, are you hungry? I'm like, I can eat, but I'm just thirsty. I want a juice. And then she's like, yeah, I want a juice. So what ends up happening is, because we are all connected, we put out signals, right? So here it is. It goes all the way back. Everything is divine timing. There's no such thing as coincidence. Everything is divine timing and purposely planned, all the way to the date that I picked to go to do this VIP. Actually, to even how the VIP day occurred. It wasn't even like it was a sales pitch or anything. It was me and a client working together, and something came up. And then I said, yeah, I do VIP days. She's already a client of mine. Didn't even know I do VIP days, because I hadn't been like, quote unquote, pushing them in that sense. Right. Especially with COVID and all that. So the way that whole thing came out, and then we looked at the dates, and mind you, she was a little torn between the dates because she had something else that was going on. She said either this weekend or that weekend, and I wasn't able to do the other one. So it was between two. And then she's like, okay, this one is great. So even to there of that one being picked, to then Christina posting on her story about she was going to be there. And then, me knowing that I had a couple of days that was cool, that I could extend the trip and be able to go there, was all perfectly planned. We weren't planning it for that. We weren't planning it for that. So then getting to there, to then going to the beach, and then we just keep talking about this juice. Well, what the universe will do, these little spirit beings is whispering in our ears and saying, you want a juice. You want a juice. And I'm like, oh my God, where's the juice man? Right? Where's the juice man? So these little spirit beings is just like, whispering next to us, like, you want juice. You want juice. Kind of like when you're watching TV and you keep seeing the pizza in there. Everybody's eating pizza and you're like, I want pizza. Yeah. Under hypnosis. Right. And you're like, I want pizza. Well, why you want pizza? Because they just put that signal out to you that you want pizza. So I wanted juice. Christina wanted juice. And it was 2 different juice places. And she just decided on that one. I didn't know what we were doing. I was just following her because she pulled it up in her GPS when we were walking, right? So when we put a signal out, Oscar put that signal out that he needed help. He was struggling. He was stuck. and he was praying. And because he wasn't receiving what he was asking God, which was change me. I don't want to go to hell. Change me. He's thinking that God doesn't love him and that God's not listening to him. And God is allowing this to happen. But all along, this higher power that he was connecting to was like, yo, I got you. But it's not going to look the way that you think it's going to look. I'm sending some beautiful souls to have a conversation with you. Some beautiful souls for you to feel safe, for you to understand a little bit more. Like, I got you, right? And that was what happened. We went into there. So we didn't go in there by accident. It was purposely planned from a higher power, right? So I wanted to share that story with you guys because it happens all the time, right? So one, nothing is wrong with any of you guys. Nothing. You're perfect exactly as you are. Does that mean that we can't make changes? Of course we can make changes because we're here to freaking evolve and grow. But you're perfect. Nothing is wrong with you. Whatever higher power you connect to is always listening. And don't ever feel like God doesn't love you or my spirit guides or my angels, the higher power doesn't love me. So whatever way that you are praying and you are asking for, you are limiting yourself. And that's as a human being. Like, you're putting a limit on yourself and saying, like, I'm praying and it has to come this way. But our higher power and our connections know way more than us. And they're like, oh, you silly little human. You think that it needs to be delivered that way. I got a better way for you. I got a better way for you. So we're always being heard. Our prayers are always answered. They just don't come the way that we think. Because you know how we always got to feel like we're in control, right? We ain't control of nothing. But it was so beautiful the way that unfolded. And I've had things like that happen in my life where it was even just to doing the card pull, right? I listened, I felt a little uncomfortable, but I hopped on Clubhouse anyway and was like, we're going to create a vibe and we're going to rock out and I'm going to pull cards. It's just what it is. If people troll or anything in that sense, I prayed over for the protection and I just left it at that. And the feedback from some of these people that were on there that was exactly what they needed at the perfect time. One person that came through was something about her home and that if she was thinking about moving, that just to know that it was a great time for her to move. And she said, wow. She said, yeah, I'm really looking at moving to Atlanta. She's like in the next month. She's like, so I needed to hear that now. That's what our higher power will do. Right. So when you feel the nudge to do something and you're like, why would I do that? Trust it because it's your intuition. Right. That's the little spirit beings whispering in there and just giving us that nudge that doesn't have any logical sense. Right. And just follow it because the universe always has our back. God always has our back. Your higher power always has your back. Source, spirit, whatever always has your back. And I don't want to say don't be afraid to be yourself because a lot of people are afraid and that's okay. Do it while you're afraid. Do it while you're afraid. If this is how you are feeling and you have somebody that's telling you like, oh, what you're doing or how you're feeling is wrong and you're going to go to hell, please ignore that, right? They are projecting and they're projecting some things that was just taught to them. My belief is you create your own hell. That's just my belief in there. It's kind of like if you're a superstitious person and you believe in if you break a mirror, you got something like 7. I think one of them is like 7 years of bad luck. What? Don't make some shit that can't be broken. If you're talking about I'm going to have fucking bad luck, don't make mirrors that can break. Anything can happen, right? So then your mirror breaks and you're so superstitious. You're like, yo, I'm going to have 7 years of bad luck. And then you like get up and you're leaving out the house and you trip and you fall and you're like, oh my God, it's because I broke that damn mirror. I'm going to have this bad luck. That's why I fell. No, you were running and you weren't paying attention to what was in front of you on the steps. And that's why you fell. Pay more attention. It has nothing to do with bad luck. But again, if you feel and you think like that, you are now creating your own hell. You are now creating your own bad luck. Right? And this is not to knock anybody in like religion or anything of that source. So it's just that it's in that space and it's not everyone. I know people who are very spiritual and go to church because there's some part of there that feeds their soul and that's okay. That's great. For him, it was more of a control thing. Someone telling them that something is wrong with you. You're going to be punished because you are the way that you are. That's not okay with me. And I don't care if it's in religion, or I don't care if it's on a podcast or people in your life. Nobody gets to tell you how to feel. Nobody gets to tell you what is right or wrong. Because what? Who are you to say that this person is right and this person is wrong? Nah, we all just have an experience here, and we get to determine if we want to have that shit again, how long we want to have it, and if that shit was good for us. And if not, we're like, damn, let me learn the lesson so I don't have that happen again, because I don't want to feel that anymore. But nobody, no other human here can tell you that you are right or wrong. Each and every one of us as a soul who incarnated here into a physical body is seeking a level of enlightenment. And we're seeking by going through these experiences so we can learn these lessons, so we can evolve and we can grow. So we're going to make these things that people call mistakes. I just like to say that they're experiences. I take the word mistakes away out of it and say it's an experience, right? Okay, I don't want to have that shit again. You know what I'm saying? But nobody can tell you that you're right for this or doing this or you're wrong for that. They can only tell you based off of their projection and what they were taught and what they believe and what a majority of people are doing. But just because a majority of the people are doing it like this doesn't mean that those people are right. It just means that they all are just going off of what everybody else says. And if that's what you want to do, that's okay too. No judgment over here. Do your thing. But it's not okay to project and to make a person feel small. That man was dying inside. He said he was dying inside. And then on top of that, he's thinking that God doesn't love him and that something is wrong with him. And then he felt like his life was over because he said he was 59. What? As long as you got breath in your body, that age don't mean shit. You can always start operating from a place of your truth. You can always start that podcast, write that book, start fucking dating, get married, move to another state. As long as you got breath in your body, you still going, right? And then even after you take that last breath, that's not the end, but that's a whole other story. That's when we want to start talking about our souls and past lives and stuff. But that's a whole other conversation, right? So I wanted to share that with you because how many of you listening are Oscar? And I'm not saying because you're battling a part of whether you like the same, gender or not, but just you're not operating from who you are. You are not standing and owning your truth. You are thinking that something is wrong with you because you're not where everybody else is, or you're not doing what everybody else should be doing. So how many of you are Oscar? Right? Really think about it. Are you in your own truth? Are you hiding yourself, hiding who you really are? And if so, give yourself some grace. Give yourself some love. Take a nice deep breath and say, that shit stops now. That shit stops now. And I am ready to embrace who I am and show up in the world my true self. Sending you all love, light, peace, health, dope vibes, all that good stuff. Until next time. Bye, guys. Thanks for tuning in to #certified. If anything resonated with you, I would love to continue the conversation. You can follow me on Instagram @itistisha. And if you want to be a part of the #certified tribe, you can join my Facebook group by going to the search tab and putting in #certified. My website is conversationswithtisha.com. As always, have a great one on purpose. Love you.